und dann Sprüche und dann ziehe ich weiter. Ja, lass mal. Müssen der Sprüche machen. Ich glaube, das ist immer warm.
Ey, yo, wir leben den Moment. Sitzen am Puls der Zeit. Der Gedanke an morgen geht uns bereits zu weit. Ich habe gerade ein Gefühl, dass der Freiheit gleicht. Unbeschwertes Leben voller Einfachheit. Ich sehe alles deutlich vor mir und bin zeitgleich halt. Power, Freude, Liebe, Hoffnung, Leichtigkeit. Deshalb genieße ich den Moment, die Gegenwart. Scheiß auf das, was war und kommt, alles vergeht nun mal. Die Welt zerfällt, doch ehe sie ganz erschaffen ist. Und deshalb nehme ich den Moment so ganz gelassen mit. Und egal wie krass die Masse, ich verblasse mich. Denn auf den Scheiß, den ich hier mache, jo, verlasse ich mich. Und wenn der Augenblick vergeht, so glaubt mir mein Zeit bleibt. Denn meine Texte stehen für mehr als Luft und Zeitvertreib. Dieses Lied, zwei Schritt in die Ewigkeit. Absolut und kreativ für das Ergebnis zeigt, denn wir leben den Moment. Scheißegal, was du darüber denkst, denn wir wissen, unser Wissen ist beschränkt, haben uns schon zu oft verrenkt. Für die Gesellschaft, zu fokussiert auf das Wissen, wie man Geld macht, wir leben den Moment. Scheißegal, was du darüber denkst, denn wir wissen, unser Wissen ist beschränkt, haben uns schon zu oft verrenkt. Für die Gesellschaft, ja. Hey, es gibt so viele Menschen, die sich für unendlich weise halten. Sagen sie, wenn glücklich, denn sie können sich jede Reise leisten. Doch geht so wahres Glück, sollten sie eigentlich schon leise bleiben. Denn wenn das Geld erst geht, müssen sie nicht mehr in die Scheiße reiten. Sich dort längst befinden. Ich hingegen werde ergründen, wann und wie ich glücklich werde. Nur damit ich glücklich sterbe, ich weiß nicht, was danach kommt. Bin schließlich noch nicht gestorben, ich weiß nur, dass ich jetzt lebe und nicht gestern oder morgen. Also was sollen die vielen Fragen? Streitige nur Klarheiten. Am Ende muss ich sagen können, ich würde eigentlich gern da bleiben. Denn heute ist der beste Tag und vergesst das schon nicht schlecht war. Besonders wenn es hart ist, die Erkenntnis unersetzbar. Morgen wird schon besser, vielleicht ist morgen auch vorbei. Nach ein, zwei dummen Fehlern stimmt der Engelschor ein. Ich spür's wie alles entschleunigt, bis von der Trance gepackt. Dir wird leider klar, letzte Chance verpasst und deshalb lebe ich den Moment. Scheißegal, was du darüber denkst, denn wir wissen, unser Wissen ist beschränkt, haben uns schon zu oft verrenkt. Für die Gesellschaft, zu fokussiert auf das Wissen, wie man Geld macht, wir leben den Moment. Scheißegal, was du darüber denkst, denn wir wissen, unser Wissen ist beschränkt, haben uns schon zu oft verrenkt. Für die Gesellschaft, trotzdem geht ein Scheiß gut gestellt, passt, ja. Der Weg kann wieder runter. Dankeschön!
Okay guys, welcome back to Talking South after the summer and after the end of the Arctic melt season. And today we got a special guest. We got Christine Lund from Utah, I think, in America. Are you there, Lund?
I'm here.
You're here? Are you alive?
I am. Thank you so much, Torstein, for having me on.
It's so nice to finally have you on. And yeah, I didn't make a show in September, and partly that was due to the screen you see here, which is the recovery screen for Macintosh Apple computers. And I'm I've had the longest period offline, or at least offline from my computer, that I've had since I graduated from university, I think. So it's been
we missed you a lot.
It's been like 8 days. And if you see the screen here, it says less than a minute remaining. That was Apple's, prediction for how long this thing would take. And of course, you should be skeptical of authorities telling you stuff. In real life, when this screen said less than a minute remaining, which it said for hours and hours, it actually meant about a week and a day remaining for this task. And I just wanted to throw a few balls off the screen because we've had Extinction Rebellion going crazy this summer. We've had Greta and the Fridays for Future with, I think, 4.5 million people on the 20th of September. And then for the whole week, 20 to 27 September, there was like 7.5 million people, mostly kids worldwide, out in the streets campaigning for climate policies. And you could say that to the right of this timeline on the screen, the less than a minute remaining, that is sort of where we are in terms of overstepping the so-called safe limits for the climate warming. You know, we're all but finished with going into dangerous and fatal runaway climate warming. And then at the left, the beginning of the timeline on the screen is like, this is where we are when it comes to doing something about it, because we, as Greta says, we haven't really started doing anything at all. And she also says that if you are one of the kids joining the fight for a livable climate these days, you'll basically be one of the very first people doing that, one of the very few people actually fighting for the climate, and you'll basically be a pioneer if you join this climate strike thing now. So yeah,
I think it's fabulous what Greta is doing, and just what she's saying, and the major media does not play all of her speeches. In fact, it's really hard to find some of them, like entire speeches. They'll play clips, but they won't play the entire ones.
I know.
Like the one she did to Congress. Did you listen to that whole speech she did to Congress?
I actually got it today. I listened to it an hour ago. So yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Well, that one was fabulous to me. Can I just read a part from that?
Yeah.
Okay, so she said, okay, I suck at reading because my eyes jump all over the place, and I have really bad vision anyway, getting old and all. But she's addressing business leaders, elected officials, all across the political spectrum, spending their time and making up bedtime stories that soothe us, that make us go back to sleep. These are feel-good stories of how we are going to fix everything. How wonderful everything is going to be when we have solved everything. And then she goes into, yeah, this is a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale that you're telling us. And then it goes on a little later in the speech, stop pretending that your business idea, your political party, what the... Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
My computer went black, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Sorry. Anyway, stop pretending your business idea, your political party, or plan will solve everything. We must realize we don't have all the solutions yet, unless those solutions mean we simply stop doing certain things.
Yeah, and she actually goes in quite a big detail and says that no deal is going to solve all of this.
Right.
So she's very fair in a way that she doesn't take side in the U.S. political battle, you know.
No, she says it's not about a political party. It's not a partisan issue.
And she realizes that even the so-called Green New Deal is going to be a big growth fest, you know, for business as usual and profits to go on forever. So
she realizes that, and when I say, I know this is really controversial in some areas, but when I say she is being used, it's not that she's a tool. She is fighting against the same people we are. She was fighting her hardest against them, but people are trying to associate themselves with her to push their agendas that aren't actually going to help us. And she is saying that right there.
I actually just published an analysis on that on my wall, and I'm basically saying that they're using her and she's using them, so it's like a win-win thing, because they all want to have a piece of Greta, right? And Greta has decided a year ago or more that she wants to tell the entire planet about this message, right? So it doesn't make any sense for her to say, no, I don't want to speak on CBS. You know, why shouldn't she speak on CBS?
No, why shouldn't she go speak to Obama or
Huh?
whatever? If it gives her attention,
Yeah,
why wouldn't she do that?
yeah. So basically called my little piece, I called it Greta's Razor, because you have something called Occam's Razor, you know?
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Which is basically saying that the simplest explanation is generally the right explanation, you know? So I'm just saying, going with her being a young, stubborn girl, a teenager who wants to, you know, see some climate action in the world, and that's really all you need to know, need to understand in order to understand why she does what she does.
Right, and you can see in her face that she is totally sincere. She's
Yeah.
not being manipulated. She's not doing this just to gain fame or anything. There may be other people pushing her, yes,
Yeah, and
using
some
her,
people are
but
trying to draw some attention from her. Like when she arrived in the New York harbor, the United Nations put up a very pathetic boat show on the what do you call it, in the bay or on the river or whatever. So they had all these sort of neon light boats with slogans and stuff for UN stuff, which was really, really, really pathetic, I think. So they clearly wanted to use her arrival in New York for their own purposes. But that's sort of outside of her control, you know?
yeah, it is. But that's why I'm so proud of her for mentioning it in her speeches.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're not giving a lot of light on that. Of what she's saying when she says that, like the part about no political party or business idea, all that is not going to solve it. And to me, that directly goes against the Green New Deal and is saying, listen, you got to listen to the science. You just can't put out a business idea because eternal growth is a fairy tale. She said that in one of her speeches.
Yeah, it's so great. Yeah.
I know. That's when I'm like all on board the Greta train. When she started saying that, I was always a supporter of Greta.
And
However, I was worried her message would go to push things like the Green New Deal.
Yeah, and to me, as a fellow Scandinavian, we grew up very close to Sweden, and we watched Swedish television on our TVs, and and I was a climate activist teenager as well. So to me, it's everything is very, very familiar. Very familiar,
Yeah.
because I didn't want my family to fly. I didn't want to travel by car and stuff, and I never got a driver's license and stuff. So everything she does is very familiar to me, because it's exactly like I was. I don't think I have the diagnosis she got. At least nobody has told me I have that. But I was as stubborn as she is,
I bet you do have at least on the spectrum,
Yeah, but
I
if
think I am as well.
If it's a spectrum and everybody on the planet is on that spectrum somewhere, then clearly I'm on the spectrum. But nobody ever told me or tested me to be the things she is, So.
Me either, but my little brother is.
Oh, yeah.
And I see the similarities, between him and Greta, and there's some things that we've talked about that we're similar on. And one of those things is you can't let certain things go. You just can't.
Yeah. And I also love how she's very open in saying that. No, she's very open in saying that she really doesn't enjoy conversing with people, but if she has to, she does it.
Well, I'm in sales, and I hate every minute of talking to people. Generally,
yeah.
I need this where we're talking like we are right now, and when I talk to other people, I need this because I need to feel like I'm not alone in this struggle as far as the world, crashing down around me.
And it's got to be someone special. It's got to be someone you relate to in a way. You don't just talk to strangers for nothing.
Right. I don't just talk to talk, and I'm not doing this for the money. That's for sure. I mean, you've got to understand that. I mean, you've been fighting this battle a lot longer than I have.
Yeah, and I can surprise you. There's you don't get thrown millions and millions of dollars after you just because you are a kid fighting for climate. If that's one of your illusions, that's not correct.
Right. I mean, her family was already pretty well off.
Yeah, but
So
you not extremely. You know, like you have to remember that in Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, people are generally extremely rich. You know, I've been on the poorer side of this of the spectrum in Norway because I always was, you know, like a student and I was activist and maybe I even got fired from one or two jobs because, you know, I spoke my mind, you know. So when I went back to see, you know, like at the college 25-year party or whatever, and see how extremely rich, incredibly rich my fellow students from back then are today. It's just like, you know, it's like I have never been to Beverly Hills, but I imagine it's like going to the mansions in Beverly Hills or something. You know, it's like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've never been anywhere near wealthy enough even to travel outside this country. I've never been outside this country, but I think people in other countries are probably better off
Yeah.
in general. I mean, not all other countries, but in other Western countries, I think people are generally better off than they are here in the U.S. You know, proportionately, there's a lot of people that are just getting by paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. No, it's a very big difference, and it's almost impossible for Americans and Scandinavians to really understand, you know, the economic differences between our two countries.
Oh so, yeah, definitely, especially with medical bills. I mean, I've had medical issues, and I just barely went back to work this week. I've been off for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I only earn 75% of my normal wage when I'm off.
Yeah.
So, and then you have the medical bills on top of that. I'm very lucky to have pretty good medical insurance, unlike a lot of people, but I haven't been so lucky all my life. And one bad medical incident can cause you to go bankrupt, and that doesn't happen in other countries.
Yeah, that's really crazy up here. You know, when I first came to Greenland 2 years ago, and I wanted to check myself for Lyme disease and stuff because I've been bitten in one day by 7 ticks or something, you know, and also some months later when I checked my neck I had some very pain in my neck for a while, and you know, both, you know, for the what do you call it, the investigation and the treatment, and I wasn't allowed to pay anything for that, and then they direct me down the hall to the pharmacy, and I get some pain meds for my neck or something, and I'm sort of up with my wallet and stuff, and they say, no, you're not allowed to pay for this here. So, okay.
Wow, that's insane. I can't even imagine that, because the minute you go into the doctor, they ask you to pay in advance.
Yeah. I think maybe I need to have, you know, like my ID or something, so they know I'm the right person. But because they have their citizen ID and stuff. But you know, my wallet I could just leave at home if I go to the hospital. So you know.
That's insane. I'm sorry, but that's just like, I don't know. It blows me away how much easier it is in other countries. And my daughter traveled to Italy, and I was worried when she got sick. She called me and told me she was sick. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if our insurance is good there. I was freaking out. And then she told me that the doctor actually came and visited her at the house and took care of her, and there was no bill. Really? What the? I don't understand. I don't comprehend this information.
Maybe America isn't the best society to live in anyway. You know? So.
I really don't think so. If I could up and move all my horses, I would be so gone. I would go to Bhutan, I think.
You know, my late father, he always talked about America as the not yet civilized country of America or something. Yeah.
Yes.
Mostly that was because of the hospital medical situation, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more. I mean, the education as well. You have that.
Yeah.
Which, okay, this is another climate relate. I'm going to relate climate to this.
Yeah, cool.
There is, the climate equity, like as everything gets worse and worse, of course, the poorer places are going to suffer. They may do better after the collapse. I think they will do better after the collapse, and actually the richer people will not do as well. But what do you do? What is your philosophy on how to handle the inequities of the differences in incomes and just your position during the collapse? Like, how do you handle that? Because everyone wants to bring up the other country up to our level, and I don't think that's the case. I think we should be moving our lifestyle down or to meet their lifestyle.
If I can take a slightly long-winded reply, is that okay with you?
Of course.
Yeah, because as I mentioned initially, I've just been thrown out of the civilized world for 8 days with my stupid computer crash, and the whole start of it was just that my Apple wanted to do another system upload, which it does, all the time. And I said, yeah, go ahead, just do the upload. And I thought I had enough space on my hard disk to do it. But then after that, I must have forgotten that I was going to upgrade the system. So I may have downloaded 1 gigabyte of an Extinction Rebellion video or something. And the only reason I download those videos is that they remove them, They frequently remove their videos, and then maybe they put them up again. It's almost like there is a war on the office to delete videos that they already put out, long interviews and whatever. So the thing is that it went down, and it went down in a very thorough way. It crashed in a very thorough way. So the first 4 or 5 strategies for bringing it back up again, like reinstalling and whatever, and things. I went out in the city here in Greenland to get advice from the computer shops and stuff, and I even connected with people in Norway over the internet, because I have an iPhone. I can actually be online even if I'm crashed on my computer. So I got a lot of suggestions what to do from them, and I basically learned to appreciate both the old country and my new country and my new city and all the friendly, helpful people much more because of this week when I couldn't be on my computer all the time, which you usually do when you are a writer. When you try to write a book, you're sort of supposed to be at your computer all the time. So a long answer, but my philosophy for doing most of this repair work on my computer myself, or to direct it and manage it myself and find out as much as possible, is that I am predicting that someplace between October 2019 and the full industrial collapse in our near future, there's gonna be a time when, let's say that your 10 closest computer stores are gonna be closed, or your refrigerator repairman is going to be out of business, and basically things are gonna collapse gradually, right?
Right.
And the more things that you can actually figure out how to fix yourself, the better off you are. That's from everything from your computer to your fridge to how to find water if your tap is dry from no water. The better off you are, and basically, try to learn some skills how to cope with things that are breaking down and falling apart. Because things are gonna fall apart.
Right, which I think everyone's going to have to do, but
Yeah. So just collapse. Avoid the rush. Collapse today. Beat the rush. I think to say beat the rush. Collapse today. Yeah.
I would like to see the industrial civilization collapse sooner rather than later, because the later it happens, the more nature is going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
So that's a horrible thought, and I'd hate to see people suffer. I don't want to see people suffer, but how many more people are going to suffer when it's full blown?
No, but I totally agree. But also I have to take issue with the standard, let's say, leftist talking point about if you are LGBT or you're brown skin or live in Africa or whatever, things are going to be so much worse for you. I don't think
it's
it's
going to be easier for them.
But it is a leftist talking point, and I don't think it's. Maybe it's technically right, like 1 week before us or something, but in the larger view, it's gonna be hell to pay for everyone, and it doesn't matter if you're like the richest part of Stockholm or Oslo or Copenhagen or Lagos in Nigeria. It's gonna be total mayhem, for everybody.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that point of view. This is my point though. There is more people living on the coast than anywhere else.
Yeah.
And the wealthier people can afford to up and move inland, where the less wealthy people can't.
Mm-mm.
But as far as this overall collapse, if the world was to or the industrial complex was to collapse today, I think that the people who are used to scrapping by day are going to actually do better.
Yeah, because they've been having to learn some skills, how to find food. Yeah.
Yes.
And I also think that what you mentioned, the people selling their coastal estate and buying something in Utah or inland or something, that's also just going to be a few years, until hell comes there. So it's like,
yeah.
In the larger scheme of things, it's just going to be a very short delay that you can buy for your millions of dollars,
Yes, I agree. But I still advocate for trying to save as much of the environment as we can while we can.
Yeah.
There is no unintended consequences for rewilding, preserving, and all that. There's no negative consequence for that. If anything, it will help. But anything else you try to do, any technological fixes you try to impose, I think are going to have unintended consequences and make it worse.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. With maybe one small exception, because I kind of tend to think that it's better to do nothing than to just jump in and planting a billion trees or whatever, harebrained ideas that people have. In many cases, those ideas or those initiatives are more like for feel-good purposes. That people need to do something that they feel is
I'd rather
sensible.
have them feel good about planting a tree than feel good about voting for the Green New Deal or something that's going to attempt to totally rebuild our infrastructure and tear apart nature in the process.
Absolutely, but I agree with you that it would be the best thing for the planet and for the biosphere and for all the animals and plants and forests living here. The best thing would be for civilization to collapse like in 2022 or something, rather than in 2032, because that means that so many more individuals and so many more species will survive. So.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's my whole entire point of my channel.
Yeah.
Is just to try to preserve nature while you can, save it, like rebuild it as much as you can, and stop freaking polluting it. Stop destroying it. Reduce
Yeah.
your energy use. Don't try to come up with new energy sources.
And I just recently saw, that's why I brought it up, because I just recently saw a debate that I half read about you know, some skeptic talking to a tree planter maniac person. And the skeptic argument was like, yeah, but you shouldn't just plant all monoculture, just one generation of trees, and also one species of trees. You can't plant like 1 billion oaks or whatever in Nigeria.
No, you just gotta leave the land alone.
Yeah, so it's like if you
take care of it.
yeah, if you just want to do something to feel good, make sure you're not destroying everything, you know? Because if you plant like rhododendron or oaks or whatever, maybe that destroys the rest of your country, you know? So
yeah, or make sure it's you know, in your environment, that's what should be there.
Yeah.
A native species for one.
Yeah.
For two, you know, dig up lawns and parking lots and all that, and replant those, or just, you know, dig them up and put your compost in there and let nature take care of it that way.
Yeah.
Stop putting weed control on your lawns. And oh my God, that's a business I'm in, and I hate it because that's what I do. I'm a sales rep for garden chemicals.
Yeah.
And I find myself talking people out of buying the garden chemicals I'm supposed to be selling.
I believe in the hip hop soundtrack from Berlin today on Fridays for Future. There's gonna be some angry hip hop lines against some of the companies whose products you are selling. So maybe there's
not to Monsanto. I want to make that clear.
Maybe there's a greater balance in that.
I'm not associated with Monsanto in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Not Bayer, not Monsanto, none of that.
No.
So no, and our company does not do glyphosate.
Okay.
We have an organic line, and that's what I push, if I push anything at all.
Mm.
And so therefore, I have, for the first time in my entire life, I missed sales plan.
Mm.
So, yeah. It's ruining my life, this coverage. But better my life than the planet.
But have you looked into this new offensive from the Extinction Rebellion? It starts on the 7th of October.
I've been trying to get someone on to interview.
Yeah.
But they canceled after I kind of did a little short, you know, face-to-face with them and told them what I was going to ask them about, and then they suddenly had no time. And it really made me mad because I really wanted to get this, because there's a lot of people saying that there's financial interest in Extinction Rebellion. So I'm like, well, I'm sure, you know, every single big activism that happens, like a big community, it will be infiltrated. Yeah. And I just wanted to find out what was going on. And I watched an Extinction Rebellion video where they were doing a meeting with some people on stage, and they had people in the audience doing questions, and there was a solar guy, like that was his business. He did solar panels. Yeah. And he's like, how can I help? And the first thing one of the people said on stage was, give us your money. and I'm like, red flag. Oh, whoa, why would you say that? Like, say, no. Speak your piece, whatever, free speech. But don't sit there and ask for a corporation's money.
Yeah, I saw that video, and I think the guy was trying to make a half joke because he was quoting Bob Geldof, and Bob Geldof would say, "Give us your money." Yeah. So
was that what that was about? They should have explained that better.
Yeah, but maybe it was clear in a British context, you know, but maybe not in the American context.
Definitely not. I just heard "give me your money."
Or maybe it's like if it was Roger Hallam saying that, which I think it was, maybe he was sort of speaking from his, you know, circle of friends from the higher universities and stuff, where everybody would know Bob Geldof, you know. So maybe, you know.
Yeah, I didn't understand that, and really, I would have loved to have somebody on to discuss that particular issue,
Yeah.
so I could clear that up. Because right now, um, I on my channel, I have Trump people, I have all kinds of people, and I don't really like to get into politics because I think it's very divisive, and I want to focus on the issue I want to focus on, and I don't want to change my message.
I think the whole idea of politics is to be divisive and to just, stop us in our tracks just to fight each other, you know.
Exactly. So if you get on a political train of one side or the other, then you're just being defensive against that side, and I don't want to do that. What I want is everyone to just focus on the issue that's facing us, and it's a huge issue, and it faces everybody, whether you're right wing, left wing, whatever. So don't go on the Trump train, and don't go on the Democratic train here in the U.S. It's, we have right and left, and that's all we have to work with.
I think that's an interesting segue to what I was thinking of saying, because we were talking about Greta and different interests who want to use and abuse her, and it's like the old Eurythmics song, so someone wants to use you, someone wants to abuse you, or whatever. I can't remember the lyrics, but someone wants to be used by you.
Is it Phil Collins?
No, it's Eurythmics.
Eurythmics, that's right.
But
same era, same genre.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think that what the Democrat Party is now planning to do with a Green New Deal is actually to, the consequence of it will be more or less like destroying any chance of having a progressive or a radical climate policy for all future, because they want a Green New Deal. Everybody knows they want that, but they are sort of jumping onto that. Just layering on top of the green thing. They're layering, free education, free healthcare, which may be good things, but lots of other very leftist, very socialist things that got nothing to do with climate. So they are making a totally inedible pill for the right side of the politics, right?
Right. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. So they're bundling that with a very, very meager kind of solution for the climate, which is not good enough and can't be good enough. But they're sort of bundling that with totally inedible things for the other side of the aisle. So
right, and that's why I think we should focus more on anti-war and just re-greening, rewilding, and preserving what we have left. If there was a Green New Deal, that's the way I would define it. I wouldn't define it by the New Deal, like the old New Deal, like redoing the old New Deal, which was totally destructive to the environment. It was horrible and a lot of people don't understand how horrible it was for the environment. But all the minerals, all the metals, everything that was extracted from the environment, all the wood to rebuild, it was horrible. And to do that again is just ludicrous.
But have you heard the latest on the Green New Deal in England?
No, I have not.
Because the Labour Party, which is going to perhaps be the next ruling party in England, they have committed 100% to a Green New Deal now, which is kind of a copy of the American concept. Yeah.
Oh no! So they want to rebuild all their infrastructure.
Yeah.
See, the infrastructure part and the growing the economy part is what bothers me about the Green New Deal.
Yeah. Those
two things. If the Green New Deal was actually about saving the planet, it would have none of those things. It would be all about preserving what we have left.
Yeah.
And maybe letting things rewild, letting nature take its course, and reducing our population, which is not a popular thing to talk about.
No, they never talk about that. But here's kind of how this works, because I think both in America and in England and in Scandinavia, you basically have two big, very stupid parties in politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very stupid. They don't understand very much. They're very mainstream and therefore stupid, in my mind anyway. That's my own opinion, right? So when
I agree.
so when one of those very, very stupid big parties wants to be a little bit greener than the other party, it's gonna be a very crappy deal. It's gonna be a very bad deal for the environment, right?
Right.
Because they are so stupid, and they just want to flip the finger to the other party and say, "Hey, we're green. People will vote for us." So they don't care about what they're actually going to solve.
And they don't make nature their priority.
No.
Like ever. It's always humans are the priority.
It's always the voters who are the priority. So they don't give a damn about the nature or the problem they're going to solve.
Right. They put humans and they put economic growth as the priority.
Yeah.
For all their plans. And those two things are destructive. So we need to change that whole dynamic. It needs to be, I don't know if you watched my interview with Derek. You did, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But he's, like he says, if you put that primary, if you put nature primary, and you understand that that's what gives you life, and you make that primary, that's what's going to be important to you, and that's what you're going to protect.
Yeah.
And that's why I love Derek so much.
I believe I loved Derek since the past century, because I'm such an old man. And I used to
Derek, but I've interviewed him 4 times now.
Yeah, I used to read all of these so-called eco-philosophers from my university days in the early 90s, and it's like North Americans and Scandinavians, a lot of them actually Norwegians, because they were some of the first to pioneer the ecocentrism and stuff in the Western tradition. And to me, it's always, since I was the age of Greta, to me it's always been very clear that we are one species out of a billion, and all of them have the same right to live. Everybody in America is so obsessed with the human rights and rights for all kinds of human groups. But what about all the others? Come on.
Yeah, what about all the other species?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and I get arguments like the other day when I was in Right Wing Hell. I went on another channel that was all right wingers. There was 5 right wingers, and then there was me.
Yeah.
And I was talking to them about losing 200 species a day.
Yeah.
And all they could say is, "Well, how many humans are there compared to ants?" I mean, what? All right, that's comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy. And then there was an argument about how humans aren't animals, and then there was another freaking argument about how only humans have intelligence, and oh my God, it went on and on. And then even if evolution was real, and how old the planet was, I mean, I can't argue with people who don't understand basic science.
No, you kind of just have to ignore them, and I would actually go further and say that you have to ignore the 2 big parties in your country as well, because they're gonna be totally left behind when it comes to real stuff.
I agree. I'm actually becoming a part of a group called Ungovernables.
Yeah. So,
and I interviewed one of the gals who started that.
Okay.
She is the gal that started it, actually, Deb Della Piana. And it's a fabulous, fabulous group. I encourage everyone to listen to her.
Yeah.
But she goes off on both parties, and she's like, stop contributing to this system is messed up. It's just like, you're validating the system just by going to the polls and voting.
Yeah.
We need to stop this madness and get out in the streets.
Absolutely.
That's what we need to do. And I love her sentiment. I really, really do. But it gets hard when I'm on my channel, because I am trying to not offend people politically. and still get my message across.
It's a hard nut to crack. You know, I was gonna say about Derek that you know, he is not in the two stupid parties that I mentioned, and so he is his own thing, just like I guess you and I are our own things. And so I believe that the real sort of knowledge and the real solutions are going to be, the real perspectives are going to be on these some kind of, what do you call it, fringe environments like Derek and maybe the Doomosphere or whatever. So
and the grassroots, and it will be outside of political party.
Yeah, but and kind of one of the big problems with that kind of society which we have now is that if you are a young person going to school like Greta, you learn something called you know, source critique, to be critical of your sources when you're doing assignments and stuff, right?
Oh, they don't teach you that.
Oh, they teach that in Scandinavia anyway.
Whatever the major media says.
Yeah, they teach that in Scandinavia, and the kind of bad thing about that is that then they will tell a young kid that the UN is the good source for climate stuff, right?
Yeah, which is way behind. Like,
yeah,
the UN is so conservative compared to what's really happening.
So normally that would be a good advice to give to kids, but in this corrupt world that we live in, it's not, right?
No, it's not.
So,
absolutely.
So the problem is to sort of how could a school in Stockholm teach the kids to go to Derek Jensen or to go to My Frozen Earth site or to go to Paul Beckwith and not to the UN, because they would almost be fired if they said that to their kids, right, in school.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was just I looked at, I didn't see it, but I saw a headline about a guy who pulled his kid out of school entirely because of the greenies that were influencing his children.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff happens all the time here. I mean, I've heard it nonstop, even from my own parents, about how the schools are too liberal, which I'm not a liberal, but they say the schools are too liberal and they're brainwashing the kids.
Yeah.
And that's what my own parents say about me because of my opinion. And my parents taught me to be environmentalists. I mean, they're the ones that taught me to love nature.
Okay.
So I don't understand. I can't comprehend.
No, I think I didn't choose to have kids myself, but I think.
And good for you, by the way.
Yeah, but I think it's when you do choose to have kids, I think there's a great, very heavy responsibility or a very great opportunity for you to. I didn't
choose to have children either, by the way.
Yeah, there's a great opportunity and responsibility for you to do what your parents did and actually bring up the child to understand the world and understand nature and stuff, which you can't really rely on the school system to do, I think.
No, you can't. I was lucky I had a really great science teacher that taught me about the web of life.
Yeah.
And I still remember him. His name was Dr. Severe, and he talked all about how everything depends on everything else. And I learned that in 3rd grade. But yet there's, adults, freaking college graduates that can't understand that concept.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why.
But I basically think that you have to learn that from your own family, Your dad or mom or both of them have to drag you out into the woods in rain or shine and paddle the canoes and everything and spend a weekend in a tent in the wilderness.
We did the weekend in the tent. We didn't have paddling in Wyoming, but we did the weekend in the tent in snow.
Yeah. No, but that's sort of the way that your kid learns to both trust nature and enjoy nature, and he or she learns that you don't immediately die just because you're not indoors, right?
Right. Well, I think all my kids understood that. I took them camping from the time they were babies on up, so they all understand nature, and we spent a lot of time in nature, a lot of time camping, a lot of time trail riding in the hills, and yeah, they understand that. And I talked to them from the time they were like 10 years old. I'm like, don't have babies. Don't have babies. And don't trust birth control. It doesn't work. Of course, birth control is much better now, but back in the day, like, don't trust it. Don't trust it.
Trust.
So don't get involved unless you want to have a baby. I'm serious. But none of my kids, my youngest is 23, and none of them have babies, and none of them plan to. So
I'll just say trust no one, basically. But that's from X-Files, so.
Yeah, trust no one. I'm so sick of the conspiracy theory BS where people are saying that's a conspiracy theory, and just because people don't trust what we're being fed doesn't make it conspiracy theory. We have the right to question what we're being fed, especially when there's facts that kind of point in a different direction.
Yeah, but that's sort of the lure of the term conspiracy theory that the CIA made up after the Kennedy assassination. You know, that if you believe that one person shot Kennedy, that's one person and not a conspiracy. If you think two or more people, then it's some people have planned something together, and then it's a conspiracy. So they just made it to be sort of a crazy half offense just to believe that there are two people doing something.
Yeah, they're just trying to make you look insane for questioning the not the legitimate, but the party line.
So it's like if some big oil tanks in Saudi Arabia are attacked by some rockets or drones or whatever. If you believe that is Iran, you are okay. If you believe it's Yemen, you are sort of half crazy. If you believe it's Israel or America doing it, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist.
It's a total conspiracy theory. What's wrong with you?
Even though it only makes sense for America, England, or Israel to do it because they want to get their war started, and it doesn't make any sense at all for Iran to do it, right?
Right. I haven't had time to pay attention to what's going on in Iraq at the moment. I really need to look into that, but I have no idea. But there's a bunch of demonstrations going on in Iraq, and so like immediately I'm like, oh my God, what's the real story behind all this? You know?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because if you just watch the CNN or whatever, it's like you only get what they want you to believe. So. Right.
Yeah, I don't trust our news sources right now. I have to go and look at trusted people that I've already, went and checked and double checked their stories in previous things just to make sure that they're looking at the facts. Yeah. So I don't believe what our major media says. I know there's some kind of a disturbance in Iraq right now, but I don't know what's behind it or anything. So I'm gonna have to wait and find out from the people I trust.
And
they're there.
And it is actually quite an investment of your time and attention to find out what's happening. It's like, I think everybody knows that I have studied Arctic sea ice for a while, for like 5 years. And recently there was a new UN report, the Ice and Ocean report, the Cryosphere report. And that was, their summary. The summary for policymakers was 1,170 pages long.
Wow, yeah, that takes time to review.
But that's probably because the editors don't know what a summary is. So they just call everything a summary, So anyway, but because I was thrown out of my Macintosh computer because of this reinstall purgatory that I was in for 8 days. I was like actually able to read the entire report. So don't say it doesn't come anything good out of it, you know. But my point was that having studied the things I've studied for 5 years, I know how the statistics for sea ice are, and I know how it's developing. I know the 10-year average graphs and 5 years and everything. And when they finally make their first, when the UN finally makes their first ever sea ice report ever, which they did now in September, the same day my computer went down, by the way. So if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, just go have at it, have a field day. But that's not why it crashed. No, so they make a almost 1,200-page report about the oceans and the ice. And do they ever mention sea ice volume? No.
No, they only do extent, which makes it seem like it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just fine. But the volume is way more
important. Because
and this is what I want everyone to do. Well, this is what I want everyone to do. I want someone to fill a glass full of just ice and fill a glass half full of water and put ice on top of it and see which one melts the ice first. Yeah. Because broken up ice with water in between is going to melt it way faster than just the ice. So volume of ice matters so much more. So much more. They can do that experiment at home easily. It's simple. I
actually did that experiment in a bucket at my cabin 2 years ago with a video camera, but then I didn't check if my video camera was working before I started it. So it took like 8 hours or something, but I had no video of it. But yeah, so I made one graph showing how much sea ice extent we've lost from the first decade of this century, the 2000s, to this decade, because now this decade is ending, right? And so the extent is down 6%, and the volume is down 22% over 10 years.
That's insane.
So there's no question why the UN wants to use the extent, because it looks much better, you know. We can all be happier and have more parties for longer, right?
Right. And we really should be focusing on the volume, not the extent. I mean, everywhere, even in the Antarctica, we should be focusing on the volume because that's being undercut a lot.
Yeah.
So
I have one example or one way of explaining why the volume is a thing. It's like, you know, I use European size 44 shoes, you know, my feet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's going to remain the same. And you know, because extent is just the surface, what you can see from space from the satellites of the ice, right? Right. The extent is only the surface. What part of the surface is covered by ice? And the same way for a human, if I walk through the sand, I leave footprints, you know, my shoes leave footprints. And mm-hmm. they will leave, and that's sort of my two-dimensional extent, you know, on the surface, on the Earth's surface. So they will remain 44, size 44. I think that's like 8 or 9 or whatever in America. But let's say that I drop all my junk food and start eating salad, and you know, I lose 10 kilos or 20 pounds or whatever, right? Over a year. Do you think my extent will go down just because my mass, my volume goes down 10 kilos? No.
That's very, very good analogy.
I will still be size 44 shoes, and I will leave size 44 footprints. Of course, at a point when I go from 10 kilos to 0 kilo body mass, and I will be dead, I won't leave any footprints at all on the beach. And that's the same thing with the ice, so that if it gets too thin, and it's just, you know, barely hanging on with 1 centimeter or 1 millimeter, then that very nice, very fine-looking extent will just go poof in a week. So That's why you can't really trust the extent if you're looking at long-term trends and when it will disappear.
I may use that analogy in my show if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Because that's a fantastic analogy.
As long as you don't keep tabs on how fast I'm losing weight, I'm okay with that.
As far as I could tell, I've only seen a video from a long time ago, but you look like you're in shape. So
I'm okay.
I'm sure.
It's just an example. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a good example, though. I mean, I really think that gives a really good.
Yeah, people have to remember that if you have like an iceberg floating around in the fjord, like I have here in my part of town, 80 to 90% of that ice is hidden under the surface, right? So clearly you can't see everything from the satellites, and the other ways that make up the sea ice volume models. They also use like submarines looking up at the ice from down in the sea, and
isn't that how they found out about all the undercutting is by submarines and sonar and stuff or whatever?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, basically you have to do a more down to earth job to figure out how much sea ice there is, because you can't do it from space. Yeah.
Did you hear about that city-sized iceberg that just broke off?
In Antarctica, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And they were showing it, like an aerial view of it and everything, which is really crazy. It's kind of insane how big it is.
It is, yeah.
But at the end of the video, they were showing it. It said, not due to climate change.
Okay, so they had already studied it in
it just happened, but they know.
In the course of one day, they studied the cause of it and everything. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right? I mean, okay, I need to look more into this, but I'm not believing what you're telling me right now.
It's very impressive. It's like when there is some kind of event. Yeah, I'm thinking of Epstein. This child molester. He had just barely died in his prison cell, and all the news anchors said this was not a suicide. So that they spent like half an hour, just reading their telegrams, basically.
Oh yeah, they said it was questionable, like at first, and then like a day later, it's like it was a suicide verified, even though the cameras weren't working, even though there was cameras, supposedly the cameras weren't working. There was a jail cellmate that was known to be kind of a hitman, and all that.
Yeah.
And he hung himself in a room that doesn't have anything to hang yourself from.
Yeah. So whenever somebody is very, very definite and clear in their conclusions, like after 15 minutes after it happened, like this was not climate change, then you should be very, very skeptical, I think.
Yeah. Nowadays, we should be skeptical of anything the corporate media is telling us.
Yeah.
And that's not a conspiracy. That's just a fact. Look how many times they've lied to us.
It's just common sense to be skeptical, because even your great President Bush said that fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Shame on you. I just quoted that. That was so funny.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Yeah.
He did it so wrong.
But basically, if you get fooled over and over and over and again, then it's your own fault to be so gullible and to believe it every time. Yeah.
And right now, anyone who believes the corporate media is so gullible. It was funny because the other night my dad called me, and he's a severe right winger, right? And he's like, I just need you to do me a favor. I'm like, oh God, what? No, I just need you to do me a small favor. It'll take an hour of your time. You just need to go watch this show at this time and see what the truth is and all this stuff. And I didn't know where he was getting at with that. And then he starts talking politics and starts talking about Ukraine, and I'm like, oh my God, Dad, really? You really think that I'm falling for the bullshit about Ukraine.
Mm.
I mean, I'm no Trump fan, but I know damn well.
You should look into it though, because your dad actually has a point.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is Ukraine is like I was agreeing with him.
Okay, yeah.
About Ukraine, it's like that's not. I mean, Joe Biden was doing a nasty, and even if he did say, "Hey, you know, we need to look into that," what's wrong with that? Is that any worse than the Clintons hiring the people to do the Steele dossier to get dirt on Trump?
Yeah.
What is the difference? I don't get it.
They're saying that Ukraine is the Democrats' Russia, so we'll see how that goes. But I think now we're up to 1 hour and 6 minutes according to my little thing on my keyboard here. So maybe we should try and upload this. Is it too late to upload it tonight? Yeah, I can try to get it up tonight. If not, then we just take it like tomorrow night or something, and then we can chat with the audience in a live chat.
Yeah, and if you ever want to do it again, I'm up for it. So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, and take good care of your dad and your parents and your husband and your kids.
My animals, my most important animals.
And your horses, of course. Yeah. And
cats, dogs, geese, rabbits, chickens.
And just for the record, I don't actually have a girlfriend. Okay. Bye.
Oh, bye.
Noch ein bisschen lauter.
Ja, aber zum Beispiel gab es halt ganz viele Sticker, die Folie, der ganze Platz hat halt
Ja. Aha.
Ja, da wurde reingeschrieben, wo halt Abfuhrstation gemacht, ja, also da gab es halt dann eben.
Berlin, Hamburg und Hamburg, Berlin. Meine Standardroute muss ich der Hauptstadt entfliehen, weil es mir wieder zu eng wird und ich die Luft vermisse, die von der Nordsee kommt und für mich Luxus ist. Oder eben 15 lange Jahre der Vergangenheit, auch wenn sie, wenn ich dort noch nicht ganz vergangen scheint. Ja, ich bin mir sicher, jeder weiß, wie das ist, wenn dann wieder einmal das Gefühl von Heimweh erwischt. Bin mir absolut im Klaren, ich hab eigentlich Glück. Bin ich in 2 Stunden in der Heimat, zurück in Harreiß, Heimat Hamburg. Zumindest für mich stelle ich immer wieder fest, denn in Hamburg fühlen sich Minuten wie Sekunden an und Stunden wie Minuten. Ey Mann, wo ist mein Tag? Digga, mit meinen Guten gibt es viel zu viel Programm für ein Wochenende. Mit meinen Jungs schüttel wenig Kopf, viel Hände. Mit der Familie ein Hoch auf die Gemütlichkeit. So denke ich, dass ich für mich vergnügend Zeit, wie dem auch sei. Jetzt sitze ich grad wieder mal im IC am Sonntag der geliebten See. Ich freue mich an die süße Spree, weil ich am Sonntag in Berlin meine Geliebte sehe. Hamburg, Berlin und ich war Strecke, Digga. Hamburg, Berlin. Hamburg, Berlin und ich war Strecke, Digga. Hamburg, Berlin. Ja. Berlin, Hamburg und Hamburg, Berlin. Meine Standardroute möchte ich aus Hamburg entfliehen, weil das Wochenende rum ist, der Montag näher kommt. Sitze ich im Zug zurück, während Berlin näher kommt. Nicht, dass das ein Problem wäre, ich mag die Stadt. Auf einem riesigen Gebiet mit Berlin Tag und Nacht. Und ich meine nicht diese Serie, ich meine die Stadt an sich. Man hat den Kreuzberg auf dem Dach, eine krasse Stadt an sich. Doch auch von unten ist die Stadt schon wirklich schwer in Ordnung. Die Stadtreinigung hat jetzt zwar schwer mit Ordnung, doch wer erwartet in den Straßen von Neukölln schon Sauberkeit? Letztendlich putzt man hier bestimmt schon seit geraumer Zeit, wenn sauber bleibt. Ist das Viertel gentrifiziert? Das Geld hat diese Stadt hier zum Glück noch nicht gänzlich verführt. Nicht alles gleich, hier feiert man Andersartigkeit. Schönes Ding für uns heißt Papa, Mama und den Kleinen. Und so kann man hier schon sein, alles Knorken. Berlin ist echt, man guckt mich an, der Retorte, wie dem auch sei. Jetzt sitze ich grad wieder mal im IC, fahre zurück über die Brücken der geliebten See. Ich freue mich auf Berlin und auf die süße Spree, weil heute Sonntag ist und ich meine Geliebte sehe. Hamburg, Berlin und ich war Strecke, Digga. Hamburg, Berlin. Hamburg, Berlin und ich war Strecke, Digga. Hamburg, Berlin, ja. Also, nur kurz zu meiner Verteidigung. Normalerweise schaffe ich es schon, Töne zu treffen. Es ist einfach nur ein bisschen hart, wenn man irgendwie gar nichts von dem Beat hört. Aber ich freue mich trotzdem, dass ihr mir Applaus gegeben habt. Und Leute, ihr seid der Hammer. Ich finde es total geil, dass hier so viele Leute sind. Und ich freue mich riesig, seit einem Jahr dieser Bewegung zugucken zu dürfen. Es ist wirklich der absolute Hammer. Props für euch!